The Lock-In is me, Brett Farrell, checking in with people I've come to know and admire as they share their stories from behind closed doors so that we can hear what it's really like around the world. Jarrad Jazz Rogers is a songwriter who's written and produced music for some of the most exciting artists in the world. Recently starting his own record label has seen him travelling the globe making music, but now, what does that all look like in isolation? I'm Brett Farrell, and this is The Lock-In.
Hello, hello.
Do you know, I was just thinking, I think it was 2006, we were in your back garden at London. We shared a bottle of red, got part way through a conversation, and since then, every time we see each other, we've been meaning to sit down, finish that conversation, finish that bottle of red, and we still, what are we now? Gosh, how many years later? I can't even do the maths. That many years later, and we still haven't had it, Jarrad. We still haven't finished.
Exactly. I know, it's rubbish.
What are we like?
Terrible.
And how old's Arwen now, your daughter?
16.
Yeah, she was really young. She was a toddler, I think, when we started that. So
16. Yeah.
We've got to catch up.
Time flies, bro. Time flies.
And how are you?
I'm good.
Locked in?
I've been locked in for 16, 17. How long have I been doing this? I've been locked in for years. I read a perfect meme the other day. It said, "A producer's life when you get locked down in coronavirus," and it had a picture of him sitting on his couch with his feet towards his speakers, and then it said, and you wake up the next day after the lockdown and realise nothing's changed. We've been locked in for years, bro. Locked in for years.
I guess the difference is you could usually get artists come and chat to you, right? Come and sing in the studio.
We can still do that without breaking the rules.
Really? Just only one at a time. You couldn't have a full band.
Well, it depends if it's less than 10, right?
Well, true. Okay, you couldn't have. Trying to think of a band
if we
with more
want
than
it,
10.
we can make it happen.
Couldn't have the Scissor Sisters. Maybe there's a few of them.
Exactly, the Polyphonic Spree. Do you remember them?
No.
Oh, killer record, killer band, that Cult, where it looked like a cult. There's like 40 of them. Amazing. they're taking a break.
But how does it actually work for you? I know you're locked in the studio and you can joke about it, but how do you do what you do without people contact? Is it challenging?
I think the original, or if you're just doing the writer producer thing, it's tough. And I've seen, I think if that's your job, if that was my only gig, it'd be hard because it would depend on whether the artist is local, A, and B, whether they're prepared to come. Most of them are. But we've tried like Skype, Zoom sessions as a community from what I have seen across through the years, many times in writing, and for me it never really worked because you're always at the mercy of the technology or who had their speakers up loudest because you can't get that vibe going on. You know what I mean? Like if you couldn't interrupt someone while they're in the midst of saying something because you can't hear.
So you're saying if we wanted to write a song tonight, right now, it's going to be really, really challenging. I've lost you, Jarrad. I've lost your signal. There you go.
Hello?
So if we were going to write a song, I can hear you, man.
Hello?
So if we were going to write a song together tonight across
man.
this FaceTime, it would be really challenging for us to write a song together.
I think so. People are good at it. I think so. I always like to see someone's expression, someone's body language, and you just don't get that. You don't get to look at me. You don't get to get the sense of it. I think one thing you realise is that creativity is not. It's probably less of a science. It's more of a vibe. It's more of a connection between people, I think. And that's the thing that the whole industry, because now I'm on the other side as well, running a record company, you notice that, man, there's a big plus side to interacting with people, you know. And you can't really get it across like what we're doing now. You know, this is all well and good, but it's far more sterile than if you and me were vibing over with that glass of Pinot.
But with your label, Jarrad, it's a global label at the moment. I know you've been travelling the world trying to break acts and get music written and released. What's that looking like now?
I'm fortunate of the place that my label's in. If it was 6 months further down the line, I don't know. No, actually, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, maybe you'd be okay. I feel like I'm in a fortunate spot because I'm setting releases up, so there's still there's assets that we're creating. The music is being finished off, and that's easy to do. I'm fortunate that one of my artists is local, and she's prepared to come over, so that's no problem. The mix guy's in the UK, and I was never going to go to the mix, so that's fine. The photographers / creative director, the main creative director is in the UK, so he was never going to be here. He was always going to be watching assets get created and guiding that from a distance. Locally, we're cool to keep creating, so I feel like the one thing that is the challenge is the initial breaking of an artist is tough, because usually you'd will them out to all the partners, the Spotifys, the Apples, the radio stations. You'd maybe put on a showcase. You'd maybe throw a party. You'd maybe do all, again, get that human interaction. And now you're slightly at the mercy of whether they'll click your link and they'll catch the vibe from that. It puts more pressure on those initial assets. I think you can't get them across with the vibe.
Does that mean you're changing your whole approach? Is it an opportunity for creativity about how you launch an artist? Is it an opportunity for creativity, though, about how you might launch an artist's career?
1,000%. I think it's really it's very used to doing the same thing, You follow the normal patterns, and immediately I could feel that we had to think outside the box, and I love that kind of stuff. Like, I love it. It's initially very exciting, but then when you have to go and actually carry it out, it's tough. But yeah, man, it just puts more emphasis and more pressure on certain aspects that maybe you would have let slide, not knowing that you did, but now you've got far less options. So it has to be killer. I think you have to find a way, because immediately, think about it.
Jarrad, just hang on one sec. We're having trouble with the connection here. Just you're breaking up a little bit. So I'm going to call you back. Yeah. So
is it working?
Yeah, got levels on my end. Recording sounds great. Actually, it sounds better than FaceTime. Must be that time of night where everyone's dialing into their family and friends.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
So we were talking about artists who get broken on the internet, and you mentioned that it was a channel that was available to A&R people, but not any longer.
No, I think that with the live channel, some A&R people they really had those channels locked in. They knew where to discover. They knew that they had, in most territories, A&R people will have their scouts. They'll have the person that gives them the inside word of checking out an artist where there's very few people there, and maybe they get in a little early doors to get in the artist ear. Maybe it flattens that a little bit. It makes it a little, because you can scour the internet if you want to, and you can actually find probably a lot more now, because everybody's doing it, from signed to unsigned. Everyone's kind of on the same playing field all of a sudden. Chris Martin's streaming as well as the unsigned person in Mooney Ponds who sent me a text. It's like, okay, everyone's pretty doing the same thing now.
Yeah, everyone's a little bored. I think going cabin fever. But for you,
yeah, that's why I say you got to do something different. Like everyone jumped on that, and they had to jump on the streaming bandwagon. How do you upscale that? How do you make it important is what I'm always asking. I think it's going to be more of a push for something unique that really makes you stand out.
But what can make people stand out? There's always that idea of the X factor, that the talent scouts would know something when they saw it, irrespective of whether it was live or they walked in the door, saw them in the lobby. It didn't really matter. But how do you communicate that? How do you get across that factor?
Good question. Yeah, I don't know.
If we figure it out, we could tell people.
Don't tell it. Yeah, don't put it on this podcast, mate. That's for sure.
So what you're telling me is you actually have the answer, but we're not going to.
Maybe I do have the answer. I'm just not going to give it to you.
Well, that's fair enough too. But with the talent you look after and you manage and write and record for, how are they going at the moment? What are their reactions to what's happening?
I think they're good just because of the place they're in. One of them is probably freaking out a little more than others, but that particular artist is far further down the road. You know, the probably the younger ones, or the younger ones in their career, are at a stage where we weren't going to be releasing until mid-year anyway. So nothing's really changed, and they probably don't really understand the process as much. I think there's also an element of it, and as I was talking to Jen last night, there's an element of you've just got to crack on. Yeah. You know, like, yeah, it's changed, and you can overthink, and you can fall under that dark cloud of overthinking. Oh no, I better sit here because I'm quarantining. Well, actually, if you're quarantining, really, you can, depending on what your gig was, you can actually, as an artist, you can get a lot done.
Yeah.
You know, if you're far enough down the road, if you've got teams already in place, then you just crack on. You can do stuff. You can get stuff done. It's just I think it probably falls down to, do you have those relationships? It's very hard to start a new relationship, I think, in this current climate. That's probably the challenge. You know, I have a bunch in my label of new relationships that I was just forming. It's hard for them to get deeper, although some of them are, but it's a lot more effort than if you went and spent an hour having lunch with someone. You can get a lot more done than over the phone, you know.
Yeah, I could imagine. But Jarrad, with your songwriting hat on, over the generations, songwriters have connected our humanity. They've brought us love songs and happy songs and songs of joy and songs that we can cry to. What role does a songwriter have in a time like this?
I think the role stays the same. That just be honest, right? Like, honest right from a place of honesty in what they're going through. I think they're the most powerful songs.
And what would you be saying to a writer now, or an artist? Who are you writing with? What truth would you be trying to extract from them?
So I'd always try to ask, what are they going through? I think that's one of the first questions I ask whenever I do what are you going through? Everything good? You know, if it's all amazing, let's write about that. If you're struggling with this whole thing, then let's write about that. And then maybe talk about what they're struggling with. And I don't think anyone's going to be super pumped in this time, but what element of the struggle is it? Had you missed opportunities to connect with people? Did you realize that maybe there was, that you were going too fast and you needed to stop and, make those deeper connections? Was family missed and overlooked because you were working too hard? I think for me, it made you, although my day-to-day hasn't really changed and I'm working harder than ever because of where I'm fortunately the roles that I've got, you do stop and realize, oh wait, connection of family is super important. You just, even when you go outside, if you're allowed to, you see in the parks there'll be a mum and dad kicking a footy with a kid I saw yesterday, and I thought, oh, why does that look like the 80s? Why does it feel like we've gone back? Because you just don't see that anymore. But now we're forced to do it. They're forced to take their kids outside, and kind of remain as that family unit, And I think that's cool. So in terms of a songwriting, what I'd be trying to draw out of them is just like try and get to the most honest thing they're feeling at that point in time. I think that's the key. And if that, then it's not, I don't think it's a good thing to personally preach on any kind of song. I think if that person feels something very strong or that's political, then write about it. But you shouldn't go in with an agenda of, I'm going to convince people about this. If that's what you feel, then write it. And that will at least be, there's a word that I can't think of. It'll help heal what you're going through at least,
How much of your job is therapy?
I don't know. Probably all of it.
Because it seems like trying to get through to other people and help them through things. And in doing so, you're just amplifying what they're feeling, which helps all of us.
Yeah, that's kind of a scary thought, isn't it? I'm not a very good therapist, Brett. I'm probably the least empathetic person my wife would suggest. It's all an act.
It's just about the hits. Give me the hits.
Yeah, it's getting the cash. It's just a way to the cash. It's not true. It's definitely not true.
No, that's not true.
I wish it was.
No, there is that. I think for creative people, there's always that unhelpful trade-off in some ways. It's always about the art wins.
Yes. You got to be proud of it in the end, Brett. If it doesn't, most of the time it won't do what you dreamed it would do statistically for everybody.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do it. So you better be proud of it so that when no one else buys it or streams it and it doesn't go there, you better be able to sit down there at the end of the day and go, wow, that I am actually super proud of that. I think that's always been the thing that I've hung on to.
That's always the mystery, isn't it? Why things just crack on through and break out. And some things you could pour your heart and soul into and 6 people listen to it.
Yeah, it's true.
Those 6 people are all very happy and complimentary of it, but it's still 6 and you're hoping for 6 million.
That's true. 6 billion these days. 6 billion streams would be all right, wouldn't it?
Well, I just think whatever you do, you just add a sort of an epic cat fails or dog thing to it, and there you go, success.
Yeah, done. All good. Or 15-second TikTok fame these days will get you there. Those videos are about 15 seconds, aren't they?
Yeah, but they seem to go on for hours. So it's
yeah, it's very addictive. It's very addictive.
Have you done the TikTok dances?
I've not done them. No, I've not created anything, but I'm watching my artists start to get their heads around it, the younger ones, and it's something that I'm making sure they get their heads around because it's very, very important. That's the one. TikTok's boomed in this shutdown. That's a stat that I've been told. That and YouTube streaming standard has declined, but the other kind of video, which is interesting, I think, because people are just trying to connect. It's not rocket science if you stopped and thought about it.
But why 15 seconds? What's the?
It wasn't a TikTok 15 seconds at the beginning. I think maybe it's changed now. At the beginning, it was 15 seconds. Yeah. I don't know. I don't like it, so I'm not a fan. Maybe it's the fact that if I started, I wouldn't stop.
I just watch people doing it, certainly in my house, and it just reminds me of those really daggy 1980s aerobics videos.
Yes.
There used to be a show on TV called that.
Yeah, yes, there was. There was some pretty dodgy stuff on those 1980s aerobics ones, Brett. You shouldn't be watching that, bro.
What? I was 12. What do you want from me?
True that.
But I think there's something in that for all of us. Sorry, just one second, Jarrad. Loretta's whispering something to me, and I'm just going to ask what it is.
Heart process. How's the head heart?
Okay, I get you. With all this, everything that's going on, just trying to, get through the day, deal with kids and homeschooling and family life and all that. Have you had a chance to stop down and just move beyond what I need to do and how I need to react and how I need to behave and figure out what it actually means personally, processing it? How's your heart?
Oh, with this new world that we're in?
Yeah.
I think it has been probably more of a challenge. But I've hinted at it before. It's probably I've gone through, not bad, like it hasn't been bad. But I did go through times, but then again, to be honest with you, man, I felt quite demotivated on a couple of days. But to be honest with you, I actually wasn't terribly well. And it came to it that I had started to get a bit of a cough, and I thought, and then I started feeling, on Monday I just didn't feel good at all. And I think I actually wasn't operating at 100%. But in that time, I did feel quite demotivated. I felt quite spun out by it. And a lot of people that I'm working with, some people are genuinely spun out. One of Australia's best photographers, I was talking to them. I'll say them because I'll give nothing away. I was talking to them today, and they are genuinely spun out because their gig is in front of people. They just can't do it without a person on the other end. Weddings, be that artist, a lot of their work came from live, and in the space of 5 days, 6 to 8 months, it was completely wiped off.
Yeah,
and they're one of the best, and they've got like a beautiful house, and now they're calling the bank, warning the bank that if it doesn't change in a month, they're not going to be able to pay their mortgage. And it's like, what? That's insane. I think there were times where I was expecting it to be worse than what it was. I think, again, I have this saying in our family at the moment, we have two paths that we believe we can win in a time of challenge that you can take. And we drew it up in the shape of a cross. And if the vertical is determined, and that's an arrow that goes straight up, and you keep on moving forward, and the where your arms go, what would you
Horizontal.
call that? The horizontally, we're 90 degrees. It's that we have as poor. We put it into, and we titled that "Poor Me." And if you're moving forward and you hit a challenge and you decide "Poor Me," then you stay at that level.
Yeah.
You won't move. You won't move forward. You'll just stay on that horizontal plane, and that's where you stop until you get determined again. And I guess it was a little bit of, I have just, my label is officially 3.5 months old. Mm-hmm. Why this is frustrating. I wish this didn't have to happen. Yeah. And I feel like I don't know what, why is this? Why? I guess I was thinking, why is it a challenge? I wish I needed to get on a flight. I needed to go to Sydney once a week. I need to go to America and UK. I should be there right now, but it's not. And it's like, oh, gee. But then that's where I stay. So I'll always pull myself out of that kind of stuff. So it's gone through. It's not been bad, but it has gone through ups and downs. I think I serve a God that has already walked this road and created a path through it, and I don't really think feelings help us to navigate that path. I think He will show us the way.
And how do you keep in touch with that to stay on the vertical?
Oh, that's it. To stay on the what? The vertical?
Yeah, stay on the path moving forward. Moving up.
Just get good people around me that will maybe call me out on the poor me's. That's my wife and my kids. I think they're the best. They're the best ones that'll see a poor me before anyone, really.
And they will tell you.
I think we've created an environment in my family where we can say that to each other and be, because we know it's like coming from the right place. So yeah.
Yeah, they love you, Jarrad. I know your family. They do. They've got your best interests at heart, and you theirs.
Yes, that's very true. Very true. Yeah.
And you may want to. You can have this one for free, actually, Jarrad, but I think there's a song in Poor Me. You may want to change the title. I don't think it's got that catchy, radio sound.
Yeah.
Like, here's Poor Me, number 1 on the charts.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
But I think the sentiment is good. I think the sentiment is right.
Yeah. We shouldn't have said that on this podcast. Maybe someone else is going to do it. No, they can have it.
Share your truth.
All for ones. Yeah, everyone in this together. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. It's very true. It's cathartic to be able to talk. That's that word I was thinking about.
There it is.
Oh, cathartic. I think it is. Yeah, there it is.
There you go, kids.
It's
vertical,
good to talk
horizontal, and cathartic.
Yeah. Yes. Told you I shouldn't have had this Pinot.
Well, one day, Jarrad, we will get to finish that bottle of wine with each other as well. 10 years later, I think, just a bit more. But it's been great just able to talk with you and hear how your life is. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for being part of the lock-in. We're all here together.
Exactly. Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
I'm Brett Farrell, and this is The Lock-In.